All right, we're going to take a look at a program for the CSCS class that we have every Monday and Thursday. Brock and I have been teaching this for a good period of time, and we're excited to show the value of these classes, because instead of just studying for an exam and taking it and not knowing what the hell you do, we like to have case examples like the one we're going to address today with a 17-year-old baseball player. Got all excited because I was in the gym this morning. I was shooting basketball. I was recording it. And I'm like, hey, here's going to be my post for the day. And I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot it's a baseball player. So I didn't have a bat or anything, so I couldn't do anything to prep. But we're going to start off with the needs analysis. I'll go over that, and then we'll address the specifics of the athlete. And then Brock will chime in and go over what the programming should look like and where he is during the season. So needs analysis, this is, I mean, I wish that everyone did this, because it can work with a 90-year-old, it can work with a 10-year-old. And what it does, it addresses the needs of the individual. And so for baseball and any athlete, we're going to go over the energy demands of the sport. We're going to go over the muscles that are used, the actions, and then common injuries. And so starting off with baseball players, let's just start off with the easiest one, injuries. What do you think are some common injuries that you're going to see with baseball players?
I would say, the joints, right? So like elbow joints. I would say
the most common. So soccer, women are 8 times more likely to blow out their ACL due to the Q angle and also some weakness at the hips. Do you know the common injury for baseball players at the elbow?
Was it the Tommy John surgery?
That was the first person who ever got the surgery, and Tommy John was. He's a baseball player, so it's extreme stress on this ligament. It's called your UCL, your ulnar collateral ligament. And so when you go in there and you get that taken care of, we'll address younger and also misconceptions. You will hear people say stupid things such as, I came back stronger from Tommy John. You'll even hear parents pushing their kids trying to get surgery because of those misconceptions. So if you had a kid, what's this kid's name, Josh?
Hunter.
And he has no strength and conditioning background, hasn't been working with anyone. He's 17?
Yes.
Yeah, let's just pretend like he was a pitcher. But let's say he's thrown 84 and he's a junior. And then he goes through surgery. He gets linked up with Brock. Brock starts training him the right way. And all of a sudden now he's at 91. People will then say, see, he's stronger because of that surgery. No, because he was training properly. So, you'll have a lot of misconceptions out there like that. So common injuries would be definitely ligaments and joints. You could get some, you just think of players who are going out the ball, contusions, the ball hitting you, freak accident with I think it was Muncy for the Dodgers. We got the Dodgers and Giants on that. Who are we going for?
Dodgers.
I'm a Braves fan. I think the Giants are easier team to beat, so I'm gonna go Giants.
There you go. Good. Yeah, it's funny. I have a weird thing with the Braves too. I love the Braves, and I hate the Dodgers, but I'm hoping the Giants take care of business today. But you look at Muncy; he's the first baseman for the Dodgers. He had a freak accident where caught the ball, his hand was out, and he dislocated his elbow. So you're going to have freak accidents like that, but for the most part, you're going to see it at the elbow and maybe ankle twisting or something like that. So now that you have that, you then take a look at the bioenergetics of the sport. And so bioenergetics, bio is the study of, and then the energetics of energy. So how do these athletes use energy? And so we can break down bioenergetics simply into aerobic and anaerobic. We can make it a little more complex, like in the middle being, phosphagen, glycolysis, and oxidation. Or the more complex way to look at it would be really fast and explosive, like gear 1, that's going to be ATP, that's immediately available for use. And then you have phosphagen, where when you break down ATP, you're going to be left with ADP, which stands for adenosine diphosphate, which then can bond to creatine phosphate, which is already organic in the body. So then you can create more ATP with creatine, and that would be anaerobic in the first phosphagen system, the gears 1 and 2, as I say. And then 3 would be your fast glycolysis, which will still be using carb source. This would be glycogen. And if you have an end product that would be lactate, that's why it's called fast, that you would essentially not be able to perform the movement anymore. If you want to practice this little event, just go out to a track and sprint a 400 and see how that is. because about 250, 300 yards, you're going to start kneeling over and want to throw up because you don't have the ability to do maximal speed in those gears 1 and 2. They take about 30 seconds max. And then we have slow glycolysis, which will start using oxygen and we'll be transporting stuff into the mitochondria. And then we have oxidation. So for a baseball player, what's the longest play that we could do?
Was it a base home run? I can't think.
Inside the park homer. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, maybe a pickle, but that's rare.
There you go. There you go. So maybe it's an inside the park home run, and then it's a pickle at home, and you're going back and forth. But even my fat ass running around the bases, you're going to be doing that in less than 30 seconds, maybe 45 if you're freaking Cecil Fielder. But for the most part, you're looking at ATP PC is going to be the energy that we're going to be using. So how you put that into application is, I don't want my baseball players to come to practice and go for a mile or 2 run. That's going to be more oxidative. Now, there would be times when I would do that. If they're fucking around, they're on their phones, or an hour late, or they got their asses kicked, I'd maybe use it as punishment. But when I'm analyzing another coach's strength and conditioning program for baseball players, these are things I want to take in consideration. And don't offend people by saying that's stupid to run a mile. Ask. So why are we running a mile before and after practice? Oh, I want to get into great shape. And so that's the difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner. If you take a marathon runner and have them sprint, it's going to be different than a sprinter going out there and doing a marathon. Usain Bolt is not going to be a good marathon runner. Kip, the world record holder in the marathon, is not going to be, top sprinter. They don't transfer over like that. So we want to make it applicable to the individuals. And so then we want to take a look at the actions and the muscles that are used. And so a baseball player is going to be using a lot of triple extension on the back leg. So you're going to need to be strong in the glutes and the lower body, really strong in the core transverse and upper body as well. Pretty equal across the board. I wouldn't put necessarily one area of emphasis like, we really need to train lower body for a triple jumper, long jumper. Upper body, not so much. But for a baseball player, I would put that pretty much across the board, core, legs, and upper body equally. Would you agree with that, Brock?
Yeah. I was gonna say it's pretty. Yeah, everything's pretty equal. Obviously, like core, especially rotational ability, joint strength, as Josh touched on, and then also can't forget the certain situation would be catcher. I would say catcher is probably the only person who really needs a significant amount of some kind of type 1 efficiency aerobic, just sitting in a crouch position for the majority of the time. So obviously you do want to make sure that the aerobic as well as mobility is key. And then obviously pitchers a little bit more. Those are the two that are going to be the most. Again, pitcher is still ATP PC, but they're going to be doing the most activity throughout. But pitcher and catcher would need a little more attention to joint detail. But yeah, most of them, and even those included, are going to be full body. Everything's needed to be addressed.
Yeah. So then keeping in mind the injuries, the bioenergetics, and the situation of the athletes, that's what's going through our mind when we design a program. Now, one of the leading coaches and strength coaches in the world would be Eric Cressy. He went to UConn, finished there 2006, did one of the most famous studies on unstable surface training while he was at UConn with Dr. Kramer, and debunking the efficacy of unstable stuff like BOSU balls, stability balls. And you're not optimizing force production. When injuries happen, that's different. So if I had a baseball player who sprained an ankle, sure, I'll put them on a BOSU ball, maybe do some stuff before, can do it as an accessory throughout the workout or at the end. Injuries are not how we train everyone. And so that's an important thing to understand. And he has a gym in Boston and also in Florida, works with tons of athletes. So really get into the research behind what Eric's done. He works with a physical therapist. He has some great content out there. He is one of the leading guys that I will use as a source. And from that, I've taken learning from him that baseball players, we're not going to be doing a lot of bench pressing, because when we bench press, we want to retract and depress our scapulas. We want to optimize the force production. And for baseball players, you want the glenohumeral joint and the scapulothoracic joint to be working in synergy. And if we're restricting range of motion, that could compromise the velocity for a pitch. great. Your baseball player put on 15 pounds, but his fastball went from 93 to 89. Coach is gonna be pissed off. And don't let that be misconstrued as you can't have size and be a pitcher. Look at like Thor and some of these other guys are out there. They have the size where you're still focusing on mobility and other aspects. And so get into the stuff that Eric has. Another thing that he's a little cautious of would be doing a bunch of pull-ups and chin-ups. You just have to weigh the pro and con. Doesn't mean they can never do them, but I'm not going to make all of my pulling work being overhead with vertical pulls. And then a military press as well. He likes to do more landmine press just because it's going to put him into shoulder flexion, maybe 110, 120 degrees, and not just in this precarious situation. It doesn't mean you can never do it. It's just if that athlete gets hurt because they choose to do that exercise, you better have a really good explanation why. So Josh, how about you tell us a little bit more about your athlete and the needs that he has, where he is in the season, and then we'll talk about and write out what a workout would look like.
Yeah. So, basically it's kind of like his dad knows what he needs rather than he knows what he needs. But his dad is very hard on him. So his dad basically said that he needs to be stronger in his legs and more explosive just because he's going to be the workhorse of the team. So they pretty much tasked him to be, hey, listen, we need you to steal bases. We need you to be fast. We need you to be quick. So it's all about power in his lower body. And I would say we did some glute bridges today, and it shows like he's weak in the glutes. He's weak in his hamstrings. So he definitely needs help on that. He's a midfielder, so we don't have to worry about him pitching or whatever.
Hawk and I were talking about that. Well, I don't know what the fucking midfielder is. What is
he's like middle infielder. Middle infielder, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
like second and short probably.
Yeah,
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So his dad says he works out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but he doesn't push himself and he doesn't go off a plan. He just does what he wants to do. But on his off times when they're practicing baseball, he has a big basement. So they actually hit baseballs in his basement. And then he also has an oak baseball bat that his grandpa made like years ago. It's out of oak and it weighs like 45 pounds. He said he gets reps on swinging that bat back and forth. What else? So our first
Does he have any injuries or anything?
No, so he fractured his back when he was 14. He was playing some game, and it was like a small fracture in his back, but he's healed fine.
Okay.
I want to say last year or 2 years ago, he had a thyroid gland, I guess, balloon in his neck. And so they had to do emergency surgery, found out it was benign, it wasn't cancer. So he's on medication for that, but his doctor cleared him for all sports, saying that it's not going to affect his sports or whatsoever. So we went through our assessment to see how he does his squats. His squats was perfect. The dude's like, he's in incredible shape. He's ripped. He just needs some strength. So our first workout for the assessment, we did goblets, landmine, and box jumps. And then the second circuit was incline dumbbell press, dumbbell row, pronated grip, and a reverse lunge. And then after that, we did a burnout session of jumping rope for 5 minutes. We stuck around 30 pounds for a lot of the movements because I basically asked him, I was like, when you go to the gym, what weight do you pick up from the dumbbell rack? Like, what are you most comfortable with? And he said, I'm comfortable with 30 pounds. I can do 30 pounds. I was like, how about barbell? When you lift barbell, what plates are you using? He says 25. So we just stuck in this range and we just kept it that way. Today, since we actually had a whole hour with him, we just did a quick 2-minute warm up, band pull aparts. We did some push-ups in the process. And then we just got into the workout. So we did dumbbell press into wide grip row and then a payloft press. So that was the first circuit. And then the next circuit was a push press, face pull and the dead bugs. And then the next circuit was bridge press with reverse flies and an upward chop. on the cable machine.
Okay. So we'll talk about this, and we'll go over some rationale of what we're going to suggest as well. But for those that are following with the CSCS class, if you go to 256, it's going to go over how we want to administer the test. If you're going to work with a team versus individual like this, obviously because of underage, you need to make sure to get the parent signature. You want to do any type of PAR-Q'd, and that's why I was asking about injuries. So we screen that, we're good to go. Then for like a team, you want to do some type of non-fatiguing test first. So, get your height, your weight, obviously, simple stuff. Now, when it comes to your body fat, I'm not going to be pinching on a kid. That's just not smart to do. If you wanted to do a BIA test, that's on you. You said he's lean. It's not something I'm really concerned about. If you had someone who maybe was a little overweight and deconditioned and you want to showcase that transformation, so be it. If it's like a volleyball player, a track athlete, you want to do some jumps or something, that would be fine. Then you'd want to get your agility test, then your power, sprint test, endurance, end off on the anaerobic and then aerobic aspects. And so you'd want to, grip strength would be one to add in there as well.
We did grip test too. It was a competition between him and his dad. It was funny.
Nice. I like that. And then 440 is going to go over the program design aspects. So that's what we started with earlier with the needs analysis, now the exercise selection and training frequency. So he's going to be working out twice. We were discussing if you have a background with Olympic lifting, teaching those would be very valuable. If you don't, we'd want to do some type of push jerk or power exercise first. So we want to emphasize on that as the main movement for the first circuit. Go ahead. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to chime in a couple things just before we really got into it. It's just kind of a great job first, Josh, of just data collection, needs analysis, collating everything about him. You gave really good detail. Couple just things of note in general to everybody. I think this kid is a pretty typical what you call athletic high schooler. And the first thing you said was that he loves working out. He's hitting a lot on his own, but there's not really any plan around it. He's hitting it hard. He just wants to get in there and do it. Again, that's why it's so important for us to motivational video. They see, get in there, work after it. It's toward their goals. I would even argue based on everything we're hearing, and especially you mentioned him being a team workhorse, he might be doing some overload and not relevant stuff and not recovering properly. And again, we could really look into things. Again, this is speculation, but that could even be some of the hormonal issues that, with the thyroid, who knows that he's not recovering properly from going hard. So it's a big thing and very important for you to teach him the importance of, hey man, proper overload and recovery. If you're gonna be really taking a lot of load and reps, and my guess is gonna be, especially when you mentioned the lack of strength, he's probably just doing a lot of volume and bodybuilding stuff because it's helping him look and get shredded. But it's very important, to make sure we're doing optimal rest and recovery, and doing things relevant to helping him out. And I think Chris mentioned it, but it's the preseason for him?
Yeah. So so right now it's I would say off season because the trials doesn't start till January and the season starts in February. And so I asked them, I was like, we can work together up until January, but we'll probably tone it down just because I don't want you to be tired for your tryouts and then you're not performing well enough to either make the team or make freaking starter. So I told him, and then I asked him, do you do workouts when you're doing your tryouts? He said no. He said they don't do any workouts at all. So, and I was surprised because when I was in school, they freaking killed us. So that's something new to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can address all that when we do the program. I do want to just piggyback real quickly off what Brock was saying, and we'll hit some psychological stuff at the end. But the main hormones that your thyroid produces are T3 and T4, and cortisol has a direct impact on those hormones, and they can be affected if there's too much cortisol being released. And I can only imagine a young kid trying to get the approval of Pops. Pops is in the sessions. He's right down his throat. So, that might be something that you encourage when you're doing these sessions with him, is to maybe try to get, let Pops know, once a week, I want to just be doing it with them. And then once a week, I'm going to encourage you guys to work out together. And we'll talk about like the pricing structure and sales at the end, but because there could be some stuff that he doesn't feel comfortable talking to Pops about, and he puts a lot of pressure on him. And and that excess stress could be affecting what's going on with that. So it's tough working with kids because they put a lot of pressure on themselves, especially when Pops is in the thing. So that's a whole other can of worms to play with. But if we were to break down, did you want to say something, Josh?
Yeah, so the good thing, next week, he's going to be just me and him next week. His dad is actually going to hunting and fishing in Michigan. So he'll be with me all alone next week, which would be good. So I can ask him all the serious questions. And I mean, because me and his dad were, we're really good friends. So, I mean, he doesn't really open up too much when his dad's around, but I think we could, solve maybe some issues if there is any next week.
Nice. So Brock, with the information that we have right now, if we were to design 2 days, would you suggest doing pretty similar days? Do you want to have more of conditioning on one day, more power this? How do you want to construct this?
Yeah, I think it would be good to use the 2 days, obviously full body, but we can emphasize both. I think one day could be more of a power emphasis, whereas one day be more of a strength emphasis, especially when we're in the I'll use just kind of the CSCS term since it's a good time. We'll use this as he's pretty much going so you have first transition, you have preparatory, which is like straight up off season. So that would be, think of it, let's say his season ended in July, August. That would be like September leading up to October, and then kind of towards the end of October, which is where we're getting to that midway point, going in like November, December, right before preseason in January. That will be more of our first transition, which is like leading up into the preseason. So assuming that, so we still have time to kind of work on the sport specific and skills training. We're not at the point where, as he's young, so he can play baseball every day, but he's not at a point where he needs to be doing skills training every day. So we're going to be a hybrid. So I think we can work both strength and power. So I'd say 1 day strength focus, 1 day power focus, with both days working on relevant accessories. So as Josh mentioned, he needs to work on kind of just like that glute and lower body strength. Maybe 1 day we really focus on that. Maybe on our power day, we focus on glute, unilateral, lower body strength. And maybe on the other day, we just do some accessory, more upper body. But I think both days should be full body in our big core pattern, some kind of power, some kind of strength.
All right, so we'll design this right now. If you're following,
real quick, I see a question in the chat. I don't know if it said, what does the clean actually help with? Power, where does that get put in the workout and why? Beginning and end. So great question, is good, and you'll see how we program it here. First and foremost, is always going to go at the beginning, even based on what you had said in the workout you did today, Josh. I would recommend going push press before the bench. A few reasons. First and foremost, anything with a power aspect or anything with an explosive aspect, meaning we're doing it for not only strength, but for time. We're trying to get as fast as we can. That's going to be the most neural. It's going to require the most motor unit recruitment. It's going to require more than any other exercise. Therefore, we want to put it first. Even if, especially a young in shape athlete, they might feel like, oh, I can do the clean at the end of the workout. I can do this push jerk at the end. Neurally, it's just not the safest. It can lead to brain, kind of just brain laziness, body laziness, form laziness, injury. And also we don't want things, again, always think worst case scenario. We don't want things like rhabdo or some kind of neural issue. So we put them at the beginning of the workout. As far as what the clean is for, yes, it is power. It's also just coordination. Pretty much any sport requires coordination. So I mean, especially type 2 or a type 2 or explosive sport. So a clean is going to be relevant for them. In baseball, just think of literally power. The quicker we can torque, the quicker we can turn our hips, the further we're going to be able to hit the ball. The quicker we're going to be able to move. He's a middle infielder, so he needs to be able to move laterally. And so, we want to put that clean in. Some things we can do if this athlete isn't ready. Let's say for some reason he doesn't have the competency to do cleans. We can do, you can teach hip explosive movements with kettlebells and dumbbells. Like you can do a clean with 2 double dumbbells. Medicine ball is something I love using with especially baseball players, because you can work that rotational aspect. So those are some of the things. But now me and Chris will get into kind of just the actual what a 2-day program might look like. But yeah, it's going to incorporate some of those explosive aspects, especially leading up into the season.
Great. So if you want to follow along, 590 is going to go down the break. It's going to go over the breakdown of the periodization and where you would be in the sport. So if this was, they just lost the World Series and it's going to be, off season, it's going to be a little different. So we're going to be looking at this program right here. So we'll put a power emphasis. So what do you want to start with here, Brock?
All right, so yeah, we'll start with day one. Let's start with the clean. And I will say, let's say hang clean. I always like to, again, let's start hang. The only difference in the two is that hang, we just start from our hang position. So as if you were in the middle of a deadlift, whereas power, you start from the bottom as if you were starting a deadlift. Obviously, hang teaches the movement. It's a little easier to teach because you don't have to have the initial deadlift. Again, just put this of note if anybody needs to make a note. If they're unable to do hang clean, regress to some kind of similar hip movement. So dumbbell clean, medicine ball, or another unconventional thing will be like a bag toss or kind of log press. But for this, we'll say hang clean as our one. If we did want to superset with something, it would just be abs, but we don't really. We would just say like some kind of core exercise here. If anything,
okay.
Did you want to superset, Chris, or should we just leave it dolo?
Keep hang clean. How many sets? 3 or 4?
Yeah, let's go. Assuming this is week 1 of it, let's go 3 sets, about 5 reps, at about 75%.
So what that means when we say 75%, we're not using the equivalent of a 5-rep max. It's all about velocity, just like a baseball player. So a ball is going to go 100 miles per hour. You can't throw a bowling ball 100 miles per hour. So this is going to be at a percentage of your max. So we should have, obviously, if he's never hang cleaned or done any type of clean, we wouldn't go up to 75 the first day. You're just going to, work on the mechanics. And this is a power. So we want to make sure that we're resting a minimum of 3 minutes. So these would be times to, coach him up on maybe nutrition or, get into his head a little bit or just kind of get to know him a little bit more. So just do those as straight sets. And then what do we want to do next?
Then let's go into a push press next. This is going to be our more power emphasis. Again, it's another one. This is going to be more, whereas the clean can be more lower and upper. This is going to be a little more upper focus. We still have the quarter squat, so we're getting our hips involved. Explosive. Let's go 3 by 6 here. Let's go at about 80%. Again, notice with power movements, the percentages might be a little lower than we would for our normal. Like obviously, we know 5 typically. If you're studying for CSCS, 5 for strength-based movement might correspond more closer to an 85 or 90, 85% of your 1 rep max. But because we're working speed, we're going to drop it as Chris was explaining. And with the push press, we can superset that one, Chris. We'll superset the push press. Let's go with the. I'll say even with a pull or an ab, whichever you prefer, Chris.
So, dumbbell row. Do you want to do a cable row?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's say cable row. It's early.
You can even do like a single arm one if you want to, stabilize.
Yeah, I like that. Unilateral.
How many reps?
Let's go 3 by. Let's go 10 each. And now we'll get now those are our 2 power exercises. Now we'll get into some more focus on what we worked on. So today let's go into we'll focus more unilateral and lower body. Let's go into maybe a split squat or Bulgarian here. Yep, I like that. Let's pair it. Let's go 3 by, let's say 8 each leg. Pair it up with the glute bridge. Again, Josh mentioned how we do need to strengthen the glutes. Go glute bridge here. Go, 3 by 15. It should be like a body weight light thing here. And then maybe finish up here, some kind of abs or maybe isolated or one more isolated leg exercise. But again, man, this could be like a finisher or here we've gotten enough here, so maybe we can finish out with either an ab, ab finisher, maybe I put right there.
So what about, I know Josh, you put in a 5-minute jump rope. I think that's fine, but we can probably chop it up into maybe 1 minute or 30 seconds to make it more applicable to the sport.
Yeah, I like
maybe
that.
Throw in, what do you think about some like a Metcon thing here? So what about some push-ups or something? And then because body weight, how many push-ups can you do, Josh?
He could crank out 40.
Okay, so you could do some push-ups, maybe put a leg out there for some core aspects. Brock, what do you think about some Nordics?
Yep, I do like. Yeah, I like Nordics for sure. The isolation, and then jump rope. Yep, I love that.
So 30 to 60 seconds. You make the call on that one. And you
Okay.
can make it fun where if you can do 40 push-ups, maybe you slow down the push-up one leg out for 10 reps. He hops up, he jumps ropes, and every time he fucks up, you got to do 5 more push-ups. And you can make it kind of fun like that. And maybe he has to jump rope with his eyes closed. You work on some proprioception. You can do jumping jacks, and you got to be reactive in baseball. So you grab a baseball, like a tennis ball. He's doing jumping jacks, and you're right in front of him. You throw him the ball, and he has to catch it. So that's where you can add in some trainer engagement. That's kind of flashy for Instagram too, but that would be very applicable to the sport because you're out there, the ball's hit to you, you got to be super reactive. So, those are all the things that, a lot of strength coaches that I see, they're very into the exercise, which is fine. But if you're one-on-one with a kid and the dad's there, try to make it fun at the end. You want to challenge him, but he has his dad down his throat. You're saying that, he's kind of getting fatigued on 3 minutes. And you're like, all right, let's call it in. Dad's like, no, fuck, we got to do another 2. And you're like, oh shit. So that can be a challenging situation that you're putting yourself in. So let's go to day 2. And this would be that would be an hour workout right there. So day 2, what are we going to emphasize here? Some more strength emphasis, right?
Yeah, exactly. More strength emphasis here. We let's start off with so again, we going on some of the things he needs to work on. We could go squat or hip thrust here. Which one do you feel? I'm thinking maybe a squat is more max strength relevant, but either one could work. Because I would want
off that one. Check out his shoulder mobility. Maybe you want to do a safety bar if you can, or a front squat. I know Eric likes to emphasize the putting back here for a back squat. Sometimes if they don't have that mobility, it can be a little tricky. So what do you want to do on these ones, Brock?
Let's go again. We're kind of in that transitional range again. This is assuming we're kind of off season leading into preseason. Let's go 3 by 6 here. I honestly wouldn't even mind, to be honest, like a pyramid set here at 10-8-6. A hybrid here. Yeah, you can take that 3 by 6 and go 10-8-6 again, because we're working strength and volume. We still have a couple months to train, so we don't need to be at a max strength level, but this is I think CSCS calls it this is called basic strength, and then you'll transition into max strength. So like that, we'll go into that first. Next, we'll go into upper body. Again, I recommend Landmine is going to be the safer option. Again, in the off season, if this guy is not a pitcher, it's not the end of the world. If he does want to do bench, but for the sake of safety and just sport application, we'll say Landmine Press here. Again, let's go 10 each arm. We did a superset with a pull here. It could be a row, or since we did a low, we did a cable roll. Let's do maybe a high pull, so lat pull down or a pull up maybe.
If you want to throw in one arm on that one, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, you got to just look at the realistic aspect. We've all in here been in high school, and if you tell a kid don't bench press, he's going to fucking bench press. And so, maybe you say, okay, we're only going to bench press together, because I don't want him to go there, fuck around with his buddies, and, they have him do a 1 RM and then he hurts himself that way. So, there's rules to go off of, but then there's just the realistic aspects. So it's not like it's, oh my God, I'm going to call this coach out because he had his kid bench press and he's a fucking idiot. That's all just relative to the environment. And there's that psychological portion too. So
All right, cool. Yeah. From here, we'll go into, I want to get some, I want to keep the unilateral coming. I like a single leg deadlift here. It's for your unilateral stability, get a ham and glute exercise. Let's pair it up. Let's go 8 each. Let's pair it up here with anti-rotation, which is good for rotation or anti-rotation. So we can do a payloft here. Josh, I like how I think you said you had some rotational chops. I love that as well. Payloft is another variation of those things. Let's go 3 by. We can go 10 reps, slow, make slow time under tension is key to make sure you remember there. And then for a finisher, I like something Metcon again. you could have, if you want to crush him here, you could throw in something like some burpees or some kind of ongoing thing. But go burpees. Let's go. We can add in some biceps here. He's young. He still work some curls here, and then maybe we would throw a B in for some kind of plank or some variation.
Maybe let's do a wall sit / plank variation. So he's on the wall. You have a ball. Make sure not to fall. Oh, I don't know. I got a little rhyme right there. No, but you just throw him the ball. If he drops it, you got to get down to a plank. Brock, you mentioned earlier about the rotational one you like, even though it's not on the power day. Could we throw in a rotational med ball thing here?
Yep. That's what I was thinking that. Yep, as our A. Yep, that's perfect.
All right, so 6 to 8 or 10.
Let's go 8.
Okay.
So we can keep that power out.
These ones you want to be resting, 3 minutes. You got the press, you got the pull, you got the single leg emphasis. If to get them ready for other positions, maybe, so you can do that wall sit because isometric, as we were talking about. Planks, you can make it fun. So now these would be non-consecutive days. You want to do, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And then if he wants to do cardio, maybe you could teach him some stuff for explosive types of sprints on the track, or rowing or something. They say that one of the best things that younger kids can be doing is training, not outside of the training specific to sport, is getting into other aspects of transverse and other movements, just so they don't just fall in love with the same rotational things. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really great workout you can do. And so notice, that's why I love working with athletes, because if this is Monday and this is Friday or Wednesday or whatever, the following Monday, it's not going to be a whole different workout. You literally do the same things for that block, and you may, change around the weight, but you also got to remember he's going to progress. So if he's doing a hang clean here of, let's say 25 for the first set, so 95, then he goes to 115 and then 135. Next week, he starts with 115, 135, 155. Push press, he's doing 60, 70, 80. Now he's doing 65, 75, 85. So that overload is he's going to be getting stronger, and he has you there to help him. So, you play the last part, you can, since you're the coach there, you can have fun with this, and you can change up that one every single time. But 80% of the work is progressive. Yeah. And that's where, especially with younger kids, you emphasize how important the form is. So we have the emphasis for power. We got our strength day. And you could be doing this easy for a month before you block that out, and then go switch up the movements and maybe get a little more specific. And as it get closer to the tryouts, then our volume's going to start coming down. And
exactly, intensity up. Like, I think it's a good time for you, especially Jai. You have to realize right now you get a little more leeway in that. He can add. We can add volume. We can push him a little more right now because he doesn't have to be 100% fresh for game day yet. We can really push him, test some of his anaerobic capacity. I think is a good test here. So like having finishers at the end of every workout, getting in that glycolytic range. 30 seconds, 1 minute, testing them out. But volume. And as you get closer to the season, it's more focused on just peaking and maintenance. So working on those power, those rotational movements, and that glute, maintaining that glute strength, but it's going to be way less volume, maybe a set or two as you get into preseason and the season, because it's going to be a lot more baseball volume. Like, baseball is a lot of volume. I don't know how they have it at the high school nowadays, but my travel baseball days, especially in high school, was 2 camp starts. You pretty much going from sun up to sundown. So at that point, it's not going to be a lot of volume in the weight room.
And so just to piggyback off of this, we teach these classes Monday and Thursday. We have a study guide to pass the CSCS. A big elephant in the room is you still don't get practical applications. So even though you get your CSCS because you need a college degree, 2030, they're going to change that to an exercise-related degree. So if you do have a degree and you wanted to get that, this course, 2 months, it's going to get you just to focus on the stuff that you're going to be tested on so you can take it and pass it. But then the real, just like our daily internship class, it's the hands-on learning and having the proper supervision. Is we have weekend seminars like we did in New York. We're going to have the same thing. And we have goals for that in 2022 for sport specific aspects, because You can, maybe you're not the best with teaching the hang clean or the power clean, or you need to come up with some other accessory things or Turkish get up stuff that you want to put in there, learning how to do those more complex movements for your athletes. But on top of that, it's the psychological component. I work with a kid who was 16 and his dad would come to every single session, and his dad wanted him to go to NFL. And the kid came up to me before one of the workouts and his dad was there. He says, Chris, I want to go on steroids. What do you think? And that's a tough one, because you have a kid and it's like telling a kid not to have sex. They're going to do what they feel is right. And if you tell a kid to, no, it's bad for you, then what do you think he's going to do?
He's going to do it anyway. He's
going to go find it. So,
Yes.
You want to try to educate him the most. For this kid specifically, as the guys that are in here, what's the one thing you can really scare a guy with?
Small penis.
There you go, something like that. So you're messing with his manhood. And that's what I told him. I said, his name was Jake, and I said, Jake, if you want to do it, do it. But I had a buddy I went to college with, and he took steroids and his penis fell off. And he looked at me and he's like, are you serious? I'm like, on you, man, on you. And I remember I saw him like 4 or 5 years later, and he's like, you were fucking with me, weren't you, about it? I'm like, dude, if you want to do it out of high school, but I'm not going to have any say in, saying, oh, this is what the science says, or this is it. Because what's going to happen is eventually you go to some random weird guy in the gym, and what about needles? And it's a whole sticky situation. Try to scare him away from it. But then when you get to that next level, that is the devil and angel that you get to play around with as the athlete. And I'm sure there's coaches out there that push it on them. And when you get to the, that higher level, the D1, and it's just a different level of competition, and recoverability is huge. So there's a lot we've covered today, from, the screen, making sure to check his data as he progresses, because this could translate into, he starts doing really well. A lot of players get injured on the team. He doesn't get injured. They start asking, like, what's going on? What's he doing differently? Oh, he has a coach. They get linked up with you. Maybe next thing you know, baseball and football are great because of how many athletes there are. You get 15 kids into a weight room, and you have 3 groups of 5. Each one's paying $15 for these after school workouts. You can have a good little system going on where you would essentially take this same thing, where you can have a group of the kids doing the hang clean and one doing the push press. Or if you have the facility, you have 3 hang cleans, and maybe you have a little assistant working out with you. But like over here, it would be okay to, just for application purposes, you could do 3 different ones of these, in the sense that you could have group A doing the squat, group B doing the landmine press, group C doing the deadlift. And then you just go into the next movement. So you can get a little creative with that as the teams get bigger. And that's what's challenging as a strength coach when you go to that higher level. You're programming for groups of 30, sometimes 50. So knowing your equipment and what you have access to. Does anyone have any questions for Barack or I while we're on the call? Or anything related to, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I got one more. All right, so these are 2 days that we're going to be working on with me, Tuesdays and Thursdays. He did ask me about him working out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I asked him, I was like, it all depends on how you feel. I was like, if there's some things that you want to work on and we didn't touch on, like arms or your triceps, or you want to get big calves, I was like, that's something that you can do on the side, as well as some cardio. So I told him he could do that on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, because he's going to be doing a lot of the movements on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
This kid sounds pretty damn smart. If you want to get some big calves, I like that.
Oh Lord, I'm about to say, you put a smile on Chris' face with that one. But no, that's the perfect answer you gave him, though. Honestly, man. Again, now as you get closer and closer to the season, you got to be a little more, careful. You just don't want overload. Last thing you want is a torn bicep. But right now, I mean, he's still young, and he got youth on his side. Kid, like, everybody wants to look good, but kids, especially at that age, want to get jacked. It's the first time they're able to really get ripped. So yeah, accessory work is fine. I would just tell him, make sure nothing kind of over the 60-70% of what he feels like he can lift. Isolation arms, isolation legs, light cardio. Again, nothing kind of anaerobic. Like, shouldn't be really sprinting unless it's like unless it's with the team and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely fine for him. If he just is a workoutaholic to do it, just make sure you are having him tell you what he's doing, so he's not having 5 full on 80 to 90% days of training.
So maybe you tell him on Monday, we're going to get after some lower body power tomorrow. So, maybe just stick it to upper body accessory. And on Wednesday, see how you feel. And for now, let's stay away from benching, or, if you do bench with me, make sure it's with me, and just kind of see how his head is and where he's at, and just, communicate. And then you're going to have opportunities with nutrition too. So again, this could segue into maybe you let them know, hey, I'd love to get in contact with a coach. Let your coach know I'm working with you. We can hop on a Zoom call with all the players, and I can do a basic nutrition breakdown for everyone to let everyone know the importance of, pregame, night before, because nutrition is a big one, because mom and dad, they love talking about nutrition. They want to hear about that. Mm-hmm. And then, that can translate into potentially picking off some of the parents. That's why I think it would be a good idea to potentially offer dad to work out. So if dad's kind of chirping in there, you could be like, all right, because he's your buddy, like, all right, so we're doing hang clean. Fucking Frank, go over there and bench press and shut the hell up. And you can kind of give him that, joke around. So he's hitting his sets. All right, now do your pull-ups. So where you're working with the push press. And so then he's kind of getting entertained. He's liking it. And it's almost like kids now seeing, oh, dad's a badass. Dad's doing some stuff. And you can build that bond. And again, that could translate into, when season's going on, you get after dad and say, hey, why don't you work out with your kids training? And then maybe you have a little dad's group and you say, you go to watch one of the games and you support them, and then you talk to because what's going to happen is the kid's going to come up to you after the game and be like, hey, a good game. Oh, who's that guy? It's my trainer. Then you can pick off some of the parents. And then for next year, you just got to go through our CSCS class, but you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, this was helpful. Appreciate you guys. I mean, this is way more information than I pay for monthly. So, I mean, it's
yeah. I'd love to hear it, man.
All right, guys and girls. So we'll post this. I'm going to make a little thing for YouTube on this as well. So we'll put this out there. Love this stuff. So anyone that is watching this, I'll open it for all the interns. If you have any sports specific stuff, we'd like to do 1 or 2 of these a month, just so you guys can understand that working with general pop, and also not to be confused, because you're going to get a bunch of, not to be politically correct, but fat clients that come in and be like, oh, I'm an athlete, as they're 40 years old because they played high school football. And no, you're not doing this with them. So you need to know your clientele and who you're working with. But this was a great exercise. So thanks for bringing this to the table, Josh. Anything else you want to add in there, Brock?
No, I think this is good for those of you all that are on here, preparing for the CSCS. Like Chris said, make sure you're understanding this is how you put it into practical application, because ultimately that's what it's about. We can know all the things in the world that they tell us in the book, but if you don't know how to apply it, it matters. And again, remember, there's things are fluid. Again, like a book might tell you it's no way an athlete should be working out more than 4 times a week, whereas we know reality, athletes love to work out. So that's why we gauge it properly. So just remember, always balance things based on the situation and the person. But no, I'm excited to hear. Definitely keep us posted on how it gets in season, Josh, because I think you have a real good chance of helping him become durable during a full season.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys and girls, enjoy the rest of your day. Remember to talk in your story, and have a good one. We'll see you.
Have a good one.